Many wonder when inspiration is going to strike. Sometimes it's finding a new mechanism. Sometimes it's finding a better theme for something tried and true. And sometimes it's staring you right in the face. Gazebos. Charming, classic, approachable. I think I have just the thing.
And would that thing happen to be able to include animals by any chance? You know, at least in the artwork on the box.
Do I really have much of a choice?
Welcome to Board Game Animal. My name is Justin, and today we're giving you a preview of Bitewing's latest Kickstarter, Gazebo Gingham, the debut of their brand spanking new travel line of games. We're going to look at each one individually, but stay to the end as I want to address some production aspects on both. So let's get right to it. In reference to what you're about to see on our copy of Gazebo here, you'll be seeing the deluxe upgrade dominoes. Those will be standard punchboard tiles in the regular version of the game. And conversely, at the time this copy was available, the titular plastic gazebos had yet to come in, so you'll mostly be seeing wood discs instead. In a few pictures, you will be seeing gazebos, but we were just having some fun using some proxies from Ethnos 2nd Edition. Also, across both games, some details on the components are subject to change from what you're seeing now to the final production copies. Now, once we get past that gorgeous box and the gorgeous travel case in the box and get to the game within the travel case, we get to the magnificent game within. And I'm just not going to be pulling any punches with this one. Gazebo is really just something else. A reimagination of Knizia's Chin. We have here a retheming and reworking that succeeds from a completely different approach from the word go. All in all, this game was begging for a production this size in a theme this approachable. Why? Well, in Gazebo, you're connecting dominoes, forming nooks, claiming patios, all in a race to place all of your gazebos. You have to connect a domino to a starting space or another domino. Otherwise, you have a lot of freedom in what is an immensely interactive, thinky, puzzly experience. There's also a lot to be said here about the look of this production from A. Giroux's artwork. There are awesome color skills and design that make this feel like something decades old, while simultaneously looking really crisp and new, and that lends to the vibes this game emits. First of all, the game is so classic Knizia. The game comes with essentially non-existent overhead rules that you could teach in less than a minute, and yet the game is dungeons deep in how it could be played. It's not necessarily a game that changes everything or overhauls the hobby, but it'll make you ooh and ah at the elegance of the design itself. One that will really make you go, wow, how is this game not more famous? Right, Connie?
And that's exactly what Bitewing is here to do.
She wasn't in the script. Is after that said ease of entry, the dynamics that are formed around the table are exquisite. And at all player counts, I might add. I can totally see Gazebo becoming a go-to two-player game for couples, or an excellent onboarding game for game night with groups of 4. Gazebo may just be the quintessential game that feels both like an heirloom classic piece, a forgotten gem, and something about the cloth board and the vibes there adds to that character and charm that I think it would have lacked with a traditional board. And there's a reason this is the travel games headliner for Bitewing. The game lends itself to going anywhere. It's one of the most portable games of this richness that you're going to find. You can bring it anywhere. It's super easy to set up, prep, play, and tear down. Hey, you could bring it actually traveling, or you could bring it to the library. Hey, you could even play it in a gazebo. Or even bring it over your in-laws and play it with your mother-in-law. She won. No, really though, let's talk about that for a second. I want to circle back to something about why Gazebo is so special. It really thrives on its two-handed nature. It feels like a classic game that everyone should know. Along with the familiarity of games like checkers, chess, Chinese checkers, backgammon, but in my opinion, it is a much, much better game, which is why the new theme and production from Bitewing is doing it copious favors. It now has the vibes of a tried and true board game relic, while sizzling from the modern sensibilities of the hobby in the execution. Between Knizia's exquisite game design in and of itself and the spectacular package it's delivered in, this is the Knizia game that everyone should have. It's just a delight that begs to be played and played and played again. Couple that with the fact that there are numerous maps or expansions in the form of the cloth boards that look beautiful, work well, and all bring in a little something extra to the experience. And again, it makes the usability and replayability of Gazebo skyrocket. And I have to agree with Dr. Knizia himself, who anecdotally now considers this to be one of his best games. But let's take this a step further. I believe this is one of the best board games, period, that will equally appeal to gamers and non gamers alike through its approachability and ingenuity. Talk about Gingham by Robert Hovakimyan, who Kelly describes as a designer that the good Dr. Knizia better watch out for. Robert has been quickly delivering some hotness onto the gaming scene, with the likes of Bebop, Moonroller, Shuffle and Swing, and more. Gingham is a game about making connections, linking your ants up to various suites and gaining victory points for the right connections and enclosures your ants make. Please note the wooden ants you see here are deluxe upgrades for the game as well. There's really something to be said about how absolutely charming this theme is by itself, right? Something that's just wholesome and whimsical. And it's pretty cute, different theme about ants and food. However, it actually lends itself to the teach. And I think we've all had those moments in rules teaches where someone asks reference to the theme, uh, why or what is that supposed to be doing? When I've gone through the rules teach of Gingham, the theme ingeniously informs on the gameplay. You're route building to form chains of ants connecting like suites because the ants want to get all of said snack back to the start. The theme to gameplay pipeline flows super organically, which is something I especially appreciate in this kind of abstract strategy game. Because honestly, this rarely ever happens. Theme is normally the last thing in mind, oftentimes not even making sense, much less actually contributing to the quality of teaching the game. You know, to be honest, my only complaint with the game is that the components look a little too delicious.
I had the exact same problem.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, those wooden ants just do something to me.
We're obviously not talking about the ants. Okay. Gingham packs a lot into a really tight package here. Because in all honesty, this is the kind of game I could see packed into a massive Arc Nova or Blood Rage size shaped box. But the game instead brings that kind of energy into such a modest box size that is still not shy with the number of components or the scope of what you're doing. The game delivers on being tense, thought provoking, while not sacrificing the fact that it's really clean and balanced. It's actually kind of funny because the scale of what you're doing feels a lot bigger than the space that you're taking up on your table, but ironically, thematically, the things are very small. You're playing as ants. Now, as far as gameplay is concerned, you're taking turns placing your queen to denote what row you're playing an ant in, and where everyone decides to go will denote turn order for the next round. To be honest, similar to Knizia when it comes to ease of play, on each of your turns in a round, you're typically only placing an ant, and then maybe scoring the connection, meaning often your turn may last a few seconds. But that being said, the decision space and consequences of your actions are huge. Not only do you have a uniquely sectioned board to choose a side from, but your placement on your turn directly impacts the turn order for the next round. And there's a lot of delicious decision making trying to balance out that best choice for you while not inadvertently leaving a lane open that's going to directly benefit one of your opponents. In this way, all of those mechanisms make Gingham feel really nostalgic, really classic, in all the right ways, but through a fascinating special ability system that you can access by spending sugar cubes, a currency that spills off the bigger sweets as your ants carry them away. The game feels really, really modern. And again, with the whole sugar thing, theme teaching mechanism. But the special abilities are delectable in that they feel so overpowered, so game breaking in all the right ways, and then their changing value adds to the constant in motion nature, making it feel while you're playing that the possibilities are endless. They're always on the move, always in flux, and make for an incredibly rich experience again and again. in just ultimately what is such a streamlined design. And you know what? All of that on top of the fact that the board is randomly set up every time anyway. And it really guarantees that Gingham is the kind of game that will keep delivering something fresh to you each time you play it. Something fresh and delicious.
Yeah, you bet it's delicious. And they come in blue and orange and green and pink, and they have 6 legs. And
Let's take a moment to talk about the production on both here. In general, despite having a lot of overproduced games with a bunch of minis, at the end of the day, what I appreciate and champion when it comes to game production is practicality, usability, and efficiency. Meaning, I will tell you wholeheartedly when it's the better option to go with a modest version of a game as opposed to getting it decked out with a deluxe version. Well, this is one of the rare exceptions where I tell you, you absolutely want the deluxe versions of both Gazebo and Gingham. And it's really not just a beautification thing. The solid dominoes of Gazebo and the wooden ants of Gingham actually increase the function of the game and are so incredibly delightful. If the regular version is the only way that you'll be able to play them, I still think you 100% should. The games in and of themselves are splendid. But if you have a choice, don't miss these components, you will regret it otherwise. And another phenomenal incentive into backing the Kickstarter are these travel cases. They're a free gift for backers during the campaign. They will be sold separately in retail, but trust me, you want these. They're not just extra fluff, just something you're not going to use. We're talking about an exceptional quality here that the games fit nicely in to make your shelves look pretty. It's just an excellent design. So, what these games do, they do phenomenally well. And they just look great doing it. For the kind of games that Gazebo and Gingham are, I honestly can say that these are the best board games to travel with. I think it's a pretty impressive feat to kick off a line that's meant to represent an aspect of the hobby, right? Being able to have games to travel with and just knocking it out of the park with some of the best examples the hobby has to offer, period. Final thoughts. Having the hallmarks of classic old world games coupled with modern sensibilities from Bitewing, Gazebo is an inspired game design that looks gorgeous on the shelf and is streamlined to be easily transportable. It feels like a forgotten novelty or treasure you'd find in your grandparents' home that somehow has been brought back to life in a crisp, elegant production. This may just be the Knizia game that everyone should play. Gingham feels like a deliciously massive, big box, highly interactive gaming experience in one adorable package. An abstract whose theme helps the teach and whose bells and whistles feel like appropriately indulgent icing on a perfectly balanced, ingenious cake that I unashamedly call really sweet. All puns intended, but every word deserved. We'd like to give a huge thanks to Bitewing Games for being friends of Board Game Animal, supporting us, and letting us be a part of this process. It may not seem like a huge deal, but for us it is. We started both our channel in general and our Knizia videos as us just having some fun with something that we're passionate about and hoping someone would get a kick out of it. We never expected in a relatively short period of time to be on this end of things, getting to know and work with publishers, designers, and a ton of awesome folks getting to spread the love for fantastic games like this. Thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. And if you want to know more about Bitewing, more about Gingham designer Robert Hovakimyan, or about our Knizia antics, links to some of those videos will be in the description below.
Make sure you back the Gazebo and Gingham Kickstarter.
And always remember to play board games like an animal wherever you travel.